So, with us, we have our eminent speaker, Professor Chatterjee, sir. He has been a constant support to this institution called HRDC at Sambalpur University in various capacities as a resource person, an advisor, as a friend. Professor Mrinal Chatterjee is a journalist and media academician who is presently working as professor and regional director at the Eastern India Regional Campus, IFB, Indian Institute of Mass Communication at Dhenkanal. He has published 7 books on mass communication in English and Odia, including history and journalism in Odisha, 12 book chapters, edited 5 books, and published several research papers and guided PhD scholars, and delivered over hundreds of lectures. And he is a media person. We have seen him on television, different television shows. And I welcome you, sir, to this webinar. And the context of the webinar, I'm not going to speak much about it, because as you know, the scientific temper is needed the most, not now, but always it is needed. But at the present time, it is needed the most because we are in a crossroad, and the information that we are receiving from various corners are to be tested, are to be validated on the basis of scientific attitude and scientific understanding. That is what the most we needed. So gone are the days when we were believing in a belief system, and we were not trying to testify in terms of the parameters of scientific approach. But now the Constitution of India has also categorically stresses upon the use of the scientific temper by its citizens. So with this background, I would now request our Honorable Professor Sanjiv Mittal, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sambalpur University, to speak a few words, and thereafter I'll request our esteemed speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Bulu Maharana, and I'm again quite happy that I think this is quite a good number of seminars and webinars which you have conducted as a part of the HRDC, and I think that is what is the need of the day, because any seminar, any webinar that is conducted by the university always adds to the visibility of the university, because once the seminar is organized, so many participants they join, and so many resource people are invited. So based on the efforts which you are spending, I think you are getting the desired result. But as a university, definitely we are being benefited in terms of increasing our goodwill and image as visibility in the open market. So before I say something, I am really thankful to you for keeping your interest in terms of. Yeah. Are you in a position to listen me? Hello? I am audible?
Yes, sir. I can listen to you, sir. Video. Yes, sir. You are audible, sir, but your is muted. So could you please on your camera so they can see you?
The camera is also open, because I can see from my own camera that I am there. I don't know why my camera is not visible.
Oh, acha.
I can see.
Maybe bandwidth problem.
Okay. Okay, sir. Please.
Now I am visible?
Maybe, sir. No. Please go ahead, sir. Please.
I can see Professor Mittal.
No, sir.
Okay. So what I was just saying is that
maybe this system. Sir, please go ahead. Please.
Yeah. So what I was just trying to say that for any university, these webinars and seminars of really good importance, because of the reason that we have a lot of outreach because of these webinars. And secondly, we are in a position to basically create these seminars. And today we are really thankful to Professor Mrinal Chatterjee Saab, who has agreed to basically deliver a talk on this particular day, and on the topic, which is a very current and a very novel topic. And I say scientific temper when you talk in terms of anybody who has basically taken a decision to enter the teaching profession needs to have a scientific temper. Why? For the reason, because after teaching, the most important thing we have to do is nothing but called as research. And whenever we do any type of a research, 2 areas are there. We say social sciences research, or we have something in terms of sciences research. So sciences research are purely empirical, based on the experiments that we do. But these days, even the social sciences research or humanitarian research is also where we are trying to understand the behavior, attitude, buying, and all those types of parameters really also involve a lot of science, because whatever survey we do, whatever data that we collect using certain type of questionnaire, maybe we are using a scale called as a Likert scale with certain points out over there. We have to do to convert the all behavioral responses, the qualitative study that we have done into a quantitative study by using that type of scales. And once we have that quantitative data with us, I think there is a need to justify whatever has been the objectives. And for that particular reason, I think having a scientific temper will always help the faculty as a researcher to basically come out with some good results. Like, say, for example, I just give you a small incidents. We were there in the university and trying to look in for why the students of the university are not coming to the classes. So we looked in for the literature and we could get the idea that, okay, fine, such type of surveys can be undertaken. So we designed a questionnaire, standardized it, and on the basis of that, we went in for conducting the survey. And whatever parameters we could see from the the literature review, when we started using were empirically tested using some quantitative method where we use a technique called as SEM, structure equation modeling. And what we could see is that three important reasons were there which were opined by the students. Number one, they said that the way we are finding the teachers are teaching in the classes in terms of pedagogy, we do not appreciate that. They come to the class, teach, and go back. But we want some understanding with the help of examples. So these examples, these concepts clarification can only be done by those teachers, professors who really have done some research and has come out with something new. And for that particular reason, I think they were true in their sense that pedagogy of teaching really needs to be changed. Second, we could basically understand from the students through that empirical research only that whatever modules they are trying to follow, whatever notes they are trying to follow, have become very outdated. And maybe they have written their notes, they have written their PPTs during those times when they themselves were students, and years after years they are using the same thing, which really is creating monotony, and most of the information is outdated which is shared by the faculty. So I think that was again an eye opener for us, and we instructed all our faculty members to keep on revising their study material notes and keep on uploading over there on the website, so that students do not feel that whatever they are getting from the faculties, that is outdated information. Third, we could see that students just opine that there is teachers which are coming over there to teach them does not have a charisma. So I think that was a very important finding that we could get through that empirical study. So we wanted to understand what is this charisma. So they said, sir, we want charismatic teachers, we want charismatic faculty in the classrooms. So on decoding that charismatic faculty, we could understand they are looking in for a faculty which is really full of energy, comes on time, goes on time, understand the students' demand, illustrate every type of concept with the help of a lot of examples, give a lot of practical knowledge to whom to the students. And therefore, we completely reoriented, reshaped the environment over there where onus was there on the faculties as compared to the students. And when slightly these types of changes were implemented, we could see students started coming over there in the classrooms. And when we interviewed the faculty, they were putting blames on the students. But what I just want to say is that I think there is no need as a faculty to blame the student. I think we have to do. And for that particular reason, if we can carry out such type of studies to study these types of problems on day basis that we are trying to face, I think we will be in a position to find solutions to many of the problems which we feel are unattended. So with these few words, I think it is a world of VUCA where a lot of when we say V, it's nothing but called as vulnerability. U, we say uncertainty. C, say complexity. A means ambiguity. So in this world of uncertainty, complexity, vulnerability, uncertain, all these four words, if you look in for, I think lot of hardship has to be done, hard work has to be done by the faculty members, for which scientific temper is very, very important. So once again, I am thankful to the resource person who has kindly agreed to deliver his talk for today's webinar. And I'm also thankful to all the HRDC people who say day and night to basically organize this webinar, and therefore this day has happened today. And I'm also welcoming all the participants who have joined out over here to gain certain type of knowledge which they are going to have from this webinar. So with these few words, I congratulate the Department of HRDC for taking this initiative, and hope whatever deliberations are going to be there today through the resource person are definitely going to benefit the participants. So I am thankful, and I will ask the director HRDC that he can continue with his other proceedings, and I will like to take a leave from him because a lot of meetings are lined up at 3:34. So kindly excuse me, Dr. Saab, है ना? And Mrinal sir, आप भी kindly excuse me also for just being with you for small moments. Thank you.
We'll have occasions
Thank
to
you.
meet.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for sparing some time for us and giving insights, valuable insights, which will add to this webinar. So now it's time to listen to our esteemed speaker, Professor Chatterjee, sir, who actually had requested us to propose topics which of recent interest, and he actually volunteered himself to speak on this topic. And I know he is a voracious speaker. He is speaking in various platforms, including in the media. So definitely we are going to enrich ourselves with a talk this afternoon. Sir, welcome to
Thank you.
This program, sir.
Thank you, Professor Maharana. And I beg apology for wearing this dawn kind of a spectacle. So it so happened I had to get my right eye operated for cataract yesterday. Yesterday evening, I had my eyes operated. So I had to wear this. But when need be, I'll remove this if I have to read something from here. Now, thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Sir, we have channelized our participants. Yes, we have channelized our participants in YouTube, sir. So we are limiting this platform to reduce this thing. So please.
What I'll request you and the participants, that if they have any questions, and I'm sure they will have a lot of questions, because scientific temper is all about questioning. So they should have questions. If they have, then they may, if they are on YouTube watching, they may send you the questions, and you in turn maybe pass it on to me.
Yes, sir. We'll put it in the chat box.
Yes. So that I can answer and engage with those questions. Now, to begin with, what is temper? Temper as a word has different meanings if we look from different subject perspective. परिष्कार ओडिया रे जदि जने कहबो तार बहुत short temper. Here, short temper means he gets agitated very quickly, right? If we look from science, temper is something that hardens a metal by cooling and then heating and then cooling. So, for example, when a blacksmith, Komaro, makes a sword, what he does, he heats the iron, then heats it to make it thinner, and then cools it. Again heats it, again cools it. By doing this, he increases the strength of the iron. That's temper. When we come to scientific temper, means, and I quote, this term is defined as a modest, a temper ever ready to welcome new light, new knowledge, new experiment, even when there are preconceived opinions and long cherished theories. That's scientific temper. That's what we will be talking on about 35 to 40 minutes, followed by 15 minutes of question answer. This term was coined initially in 1893 by a gentleman called Thomas Hughes. He said it means a scrupulous and rigid exactness, which is the outcome of exact science. That precisely mean, in layman's term, examining everything critically, accepting nothing on its face value. That precisely is the core of scientific temper. Now, Jawaharlal Nehru, our first Prime Minister, he wrote a book called The Discovery of India, in which he writes, scientific temper is a way of life, an individual and social process of thinking and acting, which uses a scientific method which may include, and this is important, which may include questioning, observing reality, testing, hypothesizing, analyzing, and communicating. If there are science students here and they have this in their syllabus, what is scientific method? Scientific method of experiment, right? And they are taught exactly this, that you need to come up with hypothesis. Hypothesis is intelligent guess. Guess based on studies, right? So hypothesis, then testing, then you analyze the test results, and then come to a conclusion, and then you communicate that conclusion to others. This precisely are the steps of scientific method, scientific experiment. Right? So according to Jawaharlal Nehru, scientific temper is a way of life which does this. Anything you encounter, right? You do not take things on face value. You look at it critically, you question it, you see whether it's verifiable or not. You see whether this could be replicated at other places or not. In short, you look at critically and you think whether it's possible reasonably or not. That thinking, that is the core of scientific temper. Now, before I come to the constitution part of scientific temper, let me tell you another thing. Human civilization grew out of questioning. Human beings are there in 1,000 years. Homo sapiens, the way we are, right? Homo sapiens emerged from somewhere in Africa about 100,000 years ago. And they spread to different areas. Civilization started only about 10 to 12,000 years ago. Why I am telling you all this? All these years, over 80,000 years, it took Homo sapiens to develop the art of questioning. But they developed this art. They questioned why the sky is blue, why sun is there, rising every day on the east, setting every day on the west. All those questions. And they tried to find. And they developed two ways to answer these questions. Way one is to think deep on this. is to try to go to the root, try to reason it out and try to invent something. Right? That's one way. Second way is to experiment, is to find out the exact why and how of it. The second way led to the development of the discipline of science. The first way, deep thinking, going into oneself. Why do people die? Where do people go after death? Stuff like that, right? Do they go and emerge with this star up ever? There are millions of stars. Do the dead person's soul go and merge with the stars? All these questions. Where do we, the human beings, come from? Who maintains all this? Season by season, everything happens so orderly. Who maintains? Right? All these questions. If we find answer from within, that emergence of the discipline of philosophy. So science and philosophy are two ancient first disciplines of learning which emerged. And from science, the practical utility of science is technology. So science and technology developed, and with that, gradually civilization developed. But I'm not going into the anthropological side of it. I'll come back to the stuff in hand, why scientific temper has been put into our constitution. There are few countries in the world which have scientific temper in their constitution. Initially, India also didn't have. The first, when constitution was adopted first, it was not there. It was put in 1976, 42nd Amendment. On 1976, on 42nd Amendment of Constitution, responsibilities were introduced. Initially, we had rights. In Constitution, we have rights. Right to life, right to property, right to speech and expression, all those rights. Responsibility was not there. In 42nd Amendment, responsibilities were also put in, several responsibilities. And along with the responsibilities, the 8th is scientific temper. There were 11 fundamental duties. 1, abide by the Constitution and respect the national flag and national anthem. 2, follow the ideals of freedom struggle. 3, protect the sovereignty and integrity of India. 4, defend the country and render national services when called upon. 5, spirit of common brotherhood. 6, preserve the composite culture. 7, preserve the 8th is develop a scientific temper. 9th, safeguard public property. 10th, strive for excellence. And 11, duty of all parents and guardians to send their children in the age group of 6 to 14 years to school. We are basically talking about the 8th fundamental duty, which is develop a scientific temper. Now, having explained what is scientific temper, and having explained it is our constant duty, now let's see around and try to figure out whether we have scientific temper. Do we have a scientific culture around us? In 1995, September, probably most of my listeners were born at that time. नहीं 95 हेले केते वर्ष हला 27 वर्ष टिके बेसी हे जाउची बोधे माने जन्म भी किछि हेई नथिबे आ किछि हेइथिबे at that time. But you must have heard about that. One fine morning, it was heard that mandir re Ganesha idols have started drinking milk. And this happened across the country. And news spread like wildfire. And it was found that in every temple, thronging, rushing to the temple with katora full of milk and a spoon, and they were feeding stone Ganesha or any idol that find. Right? It happened in 1995, September. Ganesha stopped drinking milk the next day. The milk liter at that point of time, it was probably 10 or 12 rupees. It shot up to 100 rupees. People started feeding milk to Ganesha. But probably feed this costly milk, what will my children drink? So they stopped feeding milk to Ganesha the next day. And the scientists also came up with an explanation which talks about surface tension. Something as simple as that. Student of physics would explain you what is surface tension, right? The other day, only 4 days ago, I was in Purulia. Purulia happens to be a tribal-dominated, underdeveloped district of West Bengal, bordering Odisha and Jharkhand, right? I found in a local newspaper a piece of news which reads, in this temple of this village, the Nandi, you know what's Nandi? Nandi is the bull in front of Shiva Linga. This Nandi has started drinking milk, and people are thronging to that temple, and they have started worshipping in a big way to that Nandi. Right? Lesson learned that we learn nothing from history. We, as a nation, will scientific temper. Let me give you another example, right? Or 2-3 examples. Let me give you this example of a city which prides to be modern, Mumbai. Suddenly one fine afternoon, the news that the sea at a particular place in Mumbai, the sea water has turned sweet. Mithai jaiji pani. People rushed to that place and they took the water, sea water. You know? They took all those bottles and this and that, and they took that water and drank like mad, right? By that time, there were rumors that if you drink this water now, then all your diseases will be cured. In half an hour, so happened that ambulances were rushed to that spot because people started vomiting if they drink so much of saline water. And then it was found that what is the reason why people are thinking that, well, this is sweet water, because that is the place where another small river merges, right? And on that particular day, probably the water flow was more, and therefore the salinity of the sea water at that particular place was less. And people thought that if the salinity is less, that precisely means that it's getting sweeter. You must have heard about, neem tree oozing sweet juice in some village. You must have heard, right? Nobody cares to find out why it happens. Nobody cares to ask a botany professor. Nobody cares. They thought, if this is happening, this is some kind of miracle. Probably God has come into that neem tree, and probably it has some power. And then people start worshipping. Right? Lack of scientific temper. Consider what happened during these 2-3 years of Corona. There was one Baba who spoke on live television, I have power, if I embrace somebody, right, his corona will be cured. I'm sure you must have heard about this Baba. You must have seen this Baba, right? What happened to that Baba? I do not know. He never did what he wanted to do. He said, allow me. He never did that, right? But look at people, I mean, talking about this in such a way. During COVID, right, there were people, respected ones, who told that cow dung, gobara makinyo, immerse yourself with cow dung, coronavirus will die. It never did. Somebody came up with another explanation. This is called pseudoscience. Another explanation. I'll come to that later. What is pseudoscience, right? He came up with this explanation. Well, COVID-19 is caused by a virus, which dies at the temperature of 24-25 degrees Celsius, right? In Odisha, at places like Sambalpur, the temperature shoots up to 42-43. Coronavirus just stand under the sun, hot sun, the temperature, body temperature will rise to such an extent the coronavirus will die of its own. It never happened. The only thing happened is that the man who stood outside got blackened and he had dermatology problem. What I'm trying to tell you, that we as a nation, we lack scientific temper. We lack this faculty of questioning. We take or tend to take everything on face value, which is very unfortunate. Doubly so because this is the country which gave the world the concept of zero. This is the country which prides itself to have the best scientific knowledge. And now we are in a situation where anybody can hoodwink hundreds of people, where the fastest growing industry is what I call enlightenment industry, Baba Manankar industry. Baba hai ki jone jaha pare taha koi pare, and there are people who will go by that. Anything you say, right? So therefore, we need scientific temper. We need scientific temper as a nation. We need scientific temper to progress. We need scientific temper to get rid of superstitions. To get rid of such superstitions which are killing people, which are holding them back and taking them back to 18th century, to the Middle Ages. Witchcraft, branding especially old women as witches and killing them. It's rampant in tribal dominated districts of India, including Odisha, Bengal, Chhattisgarh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, all those places. In Odisha itself, over 100, mostly old women, widows, those who do not have family to support them, they are killed, right? Witches. What to talk of witches? People are killing each other over Hanuman Paisha. Are you aware of Hanuman Paisha? Coins with Hanuman printed on it, right? And people say that this Paisha has the power to attract. These are all copper paisa. These are made of copper, right? These coins, people say, power to attract small iron thing, and for all things, rice. Chawlo taninovo, say iron taninovo. Those of you who have read science in schools, you know, copper is not magnetic. It cannot attract this iron. How can that be? And who made this iron, this Hanuman coin? At what time? They are all manufactured to hoodwink people, to hoodwink gullible people, and to get money. And people fall prey to this for two reasons. One, in fact, people fall prey to all these, right, for two reasons. One, I'll get more money. I have Hanuman Paisa, I will find some Gupta Dhana. I have Hanuman Paisa, I will win elections. Lobo. It never happens. Out of boy. She is a Dian, she is a witch, she'll kill my children. Let me kill her before she kills my children. Boy. Right? So we need scientific temper for two reasons. Reason number one, if we want to develop as a progressive modern nation, we must have scientific temper. And reason number two, if we do not want to go back to Middle Ages, we need to have scientific temper. One thing here, scientific temper has not, doesn't have anything directly to do with science. It's the spirit of science, right? And science and technology are not the similar thing. Science does with principles. Technology is practical applications, right? There are many technocrats, highly educated people who may not have scientific temper, who may be subscribing to these superstitions, right? Otherwise, we are getting the best of fighter planes and somebody goes and hangs Nimbu Mirchi, for God's sake. Nimbu Mirchi will protect you. Nimbu Mirchi will protect you from what? People say nazar lag jayega. What does it mean? Does it have any scientific basis? Right? So we have to have scientific temper. All of us. Even our top technocrats, top politicians, right? We have to have this scientific temper. Now, I'll take another 10 minutes to wrap up. Now, why this happens and what could be done to improve scientific temper? It happens because more often than not, people fail to understand scientific jargons and they believe anything that somebody says with high sounding words. Right? So we should have this in our pedagogy to demystify science. We need to demystify. I'll give you one example. Like Johannrism body counting. In a school in America, there was a kid, class 9 or something. His name was Johanner. So he won a project, and he claimed that there is a chemical substance called hydrogen monoxide. There is a substance called hydrogen monoxide, and it is highly toxic, and it should it can corrode iron. Taken in large quantity, it can create urination. If you take even more large quantity, it might induce vomiting and this and that. So it's highly dangerous chemical, and it should be banned. Hydrogen monoxide, right? There were about 50 students in that class. So almost all of them said, yes, this dangerous chemical should be banned. Nobody asked the simple of hydrogen monoxide. It's plain and simple water, H2O. Taku, hydrogen monoxide, right? So, ame pani ban kar pariba? Can we ban water? But everything that he said, everything was true. It can corrode iron. If taken in excessive quantity, it can cause urination. If even excess, it can cause vomiting. It can cause flood. Highly dangerous. But can we do that? Consider another thing. There was this cricketer who advertises a particular brand of oil, edible oil, khaibatella. And he says this contains what is called gamma oryonjol. Gamma oryonjol. And therefore, it's good for your health. Right? I tried to figure out what is this gamma oryonjol, which is so good for our health that I'll pay 20-30 rupees extra to buy this edible oil. A quick search on internet told me that it's a substance from rice bran oil, and there is no scientific proof that it can, right, make you healthier. Got my point? You can also make that check, gamma oryonjol. Just type, right? But just because it's a mouthful word, and just because there is some celebrity selling it, we probably will fall for that. So what I'm trying to tell you, there are pseudoscience. There are something which goes in the name of science. There are people who will be telling you things in such a way that it will probably ring true. During Corona, there was this Baba said, you pour this lemon juice in your nose for 2 consecutive days and the Corona will go. 2 people died. 2 people died. There was this gentleman, leader of a political party. He says, if we shout, go Corona, go, Corona will go. Nothing happened. Corona killed people. Right? So what we need to do to end my deliberation, what we need to do? A, we need to be careful. We need to be critical. We need to be questioning. We need to question. We don't have to take everything on its face value just because X said it or Y said it. Apply your reason. Apply science. Apply logic. right? Application of science, application of logic, application of question is the basis of scientific temper. India is a country where 50% of its population is below 35. If our youth can have scientific temper, which again is the fundamental, one of the fundamental duties as enshrined in our constitution, well, India will surely get rid of all those baggages of superstition and surge ahead. I hope our younger generation will heed to this. Thank you so very much. And now, if you have any questions, well, Professor Maharana may moderate and ask me those questions. Professor Maharana?
Hello.
I can hear you.
Sir, we have not received any question in the chat box, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. I think it might take some time for the students to frame questions and come back.
Okay.
Request Professor Maharana, if there are questions, he can send it to me. I'll answer and send it back.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Savitri madam. Hello. Yes, yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. You are.
So this scientific temper is very, very essential nowadays for our youngsters. And sir very rightly pointed out the essential points which will motivate our youngsters to take forward our profession as well as our duties for our society. Thank you, sir, for this encouraging and inspiring talk. Thank you so much, sir.
Hello, sir. You are muted, sir. Please unmute your mic, sir. Please unmute. Chatterjee.
Thank you very much, Savitri madam. Can we leave now?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.